What if I told you that the worst moment of your life could become the catalyst for a movement that changes thousands of lives? This is the true story of Sarah, a woman whose world collapsed in 60 seconds on a packed New York subway. And how 5 complete strangers turned her nightmare into a miracle. But here's what will shock you. This isn't just a story about one embarrassing moment. This is about how one torn skirt sparked a revolution of kindness that spread across 3 countries and touched 15,000 lives. You're about to witness something that will completely change how you see strangers, how you view your daily commute, and how you understand the power of human connection. But before we begin, if you believe in the power of human kindness, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our inspiring stories. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to restore their faith in humanity today. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced unexpected kindness from strangers. This story will restore your faith in humanity. And by the end, you'll understand why sometimes our worst moments are actually our greatest blessings in disguise. Are you ready to meet the subway angels? The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as the subway car lurched through the darkness beneath Manhattan. 37 bodies pressed together in a metal tube, each lost in their own world, earbuds in, phones glowing. The universal armor of urban anonymity firmly in place. Just another Tuesday in the concrete jungle, I thought, my manicured fingers gripping the cold metal pole. The familiar symphony of the city played around me. The rhythmic clacking of wheels on tracks. The distant hum of conversations in 3 different languages. The occasional screech of brakes echoing through the tunnels. My feet were screaming in these 4-inch Louboutin heels, a birthday gift to myself that I was already regretting. 23 minutes of standing, swaying with the motion of the train, my body automatically adjusting to each curve and sudden stop. The price of looking professional in a city that never sleeps. That's when I noticed her, the elderly woman beside me, maybe 75, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, and a worn leather purse clutched protectively against her chest. Her eyes kept closing, her head nodding forward before she'd jerk awake, embarrassed. The kind of bone-deep exhaustion that comes from a lifetime of hard work and too many long days. She's been on her feet longer than I have, I realized, watching her struggle to stay upright. Probably since dawn. Her weathered hands, marked with age spots and the calluses of honest work, trembled slightly as she gripped her purse strap. A hospital bracelet peeked out from under her coat sleeve, the kind they give you after outpatient procedures. She needs the seat more than I need to rest my vanity. Excuse me. Ma'am, I said softly, leaning closer so she could hear me over the train's noise. Would you like to sit down? I'm getting off soon anyway. Lie. I had 12 more stops. But some lies are worth telling. Her face lined with years of worry and joy in equal measure transformed. The exhaustion melted away, replaced by genuine surprise and gratitude. Oh, bless your heart, dear. These old bones aren't what they used to be. Are you sure? Absolutely. I smiled, already beginning to stand. My pleasure. I shifted my weight carefully in the cramped space. My pencil skirt, the expensive charcoal gray one from Nordstrom that had cost me a week's grocery. Budget restricting my movement, professional, sophisticated. The armor I wore to convince the world I belonged in those glass towers of Midtown. Just stand up gracefully. Simple. That's when my life changed forever. The sound cut through the subway noise like a gunshot. Sharp. Unmistakable. Final. My pencil skirt, my beautiful, confidence-boosting, career-defining pencil skirt had caught on a jagged screw protruding from the seat's metal frame. The back seam split open with the violence of fabric surrendering to physics, creating a gaping wound that ran from my hip to mid-thigh. Cold subway air rushed against my exposed skin. Time stopped. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. My heart hammered against my ribs like a caged bird desperate for freedom. Blood rushed to my face, then drained away just as quickly, leaving me dizzy and nauseous. 37 strangers. 37 pairs of eyes that could now see my underwear, My sensible Tuesday underwear that I'd never intended for public viewing. This is it. This is how I die. Not from disease or accident, but from pure, concentrated mortification in front of half of Brooklyn. I stood frozen, one hand still gripping the pole, my body rigid with horror. The elderly woman looked up at me with concern, but I couldn't process her words. All I could hear was the rushing of blood in my ears and the terrible awareness that my professional facade had literally torn apart in the most public way possible. Everyone is staring. Everyone is seeing. Everyone is judging. The train continued its relentless journey through the tunnel. But for me, the world had stopped spinning. I was trapped in this moment of exposure, vulnerability, and complete helplessness. What do I do? How do I move? How do I breathe? My throat constricted. My vision blurred at the edges. Panic, real, primal panic, began to claw its way up from my stomach. This is my worst nightmare. And it's happening in front of 37 strangers, who will never let me forget this moment. But what happened next would shatter everything I thought I knew about human nature. About strangers and about the city that had always felt so cold and indifferent. Breathe. Just breathe. Maybe if I don't move, no one will notice. But denial is a luxury you can't afford when you're standing in a subway car with your underwear on display. The rational part of my brain, the part that had gotten me through law school and into a corner office, knew that 37 people had definitely noticed. They're all staring. They're all judging. Someone's probably already taking a photo for social media. I could feel my chest tightening. That familiar sensation of walls closing in. The same feeling I'd had during my first court appearance, during my parents' divorce, during every moment when life decided to test my limits. Panic attack. Not here. Not now. Not in front of all these people. The elderly woman I'd tried to help was saying something, her lips moving with concern, but I couldn't process the words. The train's fluorescent lights seemed brighter, harsher, illuminating my humiliation for everyone to see. I need to sit down. I need to disappear. I need to, honey. The voice cut through my spiral of panic. Firm but gentle. Authoritative but kind. I turned my head, the only part of my body I could seem to move, and saw her. A woman in her 40s. Wearing navy blue scrubs with a hospital ID badge clipped to her chest. Dr. Maria Santos, Emergency Medicine. Mount Sinai. Her dark eyes held the kind of calm that comes from years of handling crises. A doctor. Of course. They're trained for emergencies. Honey, I need you to look at me, Dr. Santos said, stepping closer. You're having a panic response. That's normal. But we're going to fix this, okay? Fix this? How do you fix public humiliation? Before I could respond, she was already moving with the efficiency of someone accustomed to taking charge. She shrugged out of her gray hoodie, soft, oversized, smelling faintly of lavender fabric softener and hospital disinfectant. Here, she said, holding it out to me. Wrap this around your waist. But I still couldn't move. My hands remained frozen on the pole, my body locked in mortification. That's when the second miracle happened. I've got safety pins. The voice came from behind me. I turned to see a young woman, maybe 25, with purple streaks in her black hair and enough piercings to set off a metal detector. She was digging through an enormous tote bag covered in band patches and political buttons, a punk rock girl with safety pins. Of course she has safety pins. Always prepared for wardrobe malfunctions, she said with a grin, producing a small tin filled with various sizes of safety pins. Learned that lesson at Coachella 2019. They're helping me. Strangers are actually helping me. But the miracles weren't finished. Miss, I can provide visual barrier. The voice was heavily accented Eastern European, maybe Polish. I looked to see a man in his 50s, wearing a rumpled business suit and holding a navy blazer. His kind eyes reminded me of my grandfather. He's offering to shield me. A complete stranger is offering to protect my dignity. And here, said another voice. A teenager with braces and a NU sweatshirt was holding up her phone. You can use my camera to see what we're doing back there. So you know everything's okay. They're coordinating. Like a team.
Like they've done this before. Dr. Santos took charge with the natural authority of someone used to emergency situations.
Okay, everyone. Let's make this quick and efficient. Sir, can you hold that jacket up as a privacy screen? Young lady, you help me with those pins. Everyone else, just give us some space but keep the area secure. This is really happening. They're really helping me. I watched in amazement as these strangers people, who had been absorbed in their own worlds just moments before, transformed into a coordinated rescue team. The businessman positioned himself and his jacket to block the view from the rest of the car. The punk rock girl knelt down with her safety pins. Working with the precision of a seamstress, Dr. Santos guided the hoodie around my waist with gentle efficiency. In 60 seconds.
They've organized a complete operation.
There, Dr. Santos said, stepping back to admire their work. Safety pins are holding the tear closed, and the hoodie covers everything. You're completely covered. I looked down at myself in the teenager's phone camera. The gray hoodie was tied securely around my waist. The safety pins had pulled the torn fabric together, and you couldn't see any evidence of the wardrobe malfunction.
I look normal, professional,
even,
but more than that, I felt something I hadn't expected. Warmth. Not just from the hoodie,
but from the kindness of these strangers who had dropped everything to help someone they'd never met
and would probably never see again. A soft chuckle rippled through our small group,
then spread to the nearby passengers who had witnessed the impromptu rescue mission. Not mocking laughter, warm, appreciative laughter. The kind that says, "Isn't humanity beautiful when it works the way it should?" They're not laughing at me. They're celebrating with me.
Next stop, Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. The conductor announced over the intercom. My stop.
Time to face the world. The train began to slow, that familiar deceleration that signals the end of a journey. But for me, this wasn't just the end of a commute, it was the end of the most extraordinary 3 minutes of my life. I have to leave them. I have to leave these angels. Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. This is Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. The conductor's voice crackled through the speakers, mixing with the screech of brakes and the hiss of hydraulics. Dr. Santos placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. How are you feeling, honey? Ready to face the world? I nodded, though my throat felt tight with emotion I couldn't quite name. Gratitude? Relief? Something deeper? I don't know how to thank you. I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. All of you. The punk rock girl, I still didn't know her name, grinned and closed her tin of safety pins with a satisfying snap. Just pay it forward, you know?
Next time you see someone who needs help, remember this moment.
Pay it forward.
Such simple words, but they felt like a sacred promise. The businessman was already folding his blazer,
preparing to return to his seat. Is no problem, he said in his accented English. We are all human beings. We help each other. We are all human beings. When did I forget that? The teenager handed me back her phone and smiled, her braces catching the fluorescent light. You look great. No one will ever know anything happened. But I would know. I would remember this moment for the rest of my life, not the embarrassment of the tear, but the beauty of what came after. The train lurched to a complete stop, and the familiar ding-dong of the opening doors echoed through the car. Other passengers began their practice subway shuffle toward the exits, but our little group remained clustered together for one more moment. I don't want this to end. I don't want to go back to being strangers. Wait, I said, reaching into my purse. Please, let me give you my card, or money for the hoodie, or... Dr. Santos shook her head firmly. Absolutely not. This isn't a transaction, honey. This is just people being people. Just people being people. Why does that feel so revolutionary? The punk rock girl was already heading toward the door. Besides, she called over her shoulder, that hoodie looks better on you than it ever did on her. Dr. Santos laughed. She's right. Keep it.
Consider it a reminder that the world isn't as cold as it sometimes seems.
A reminder. Yes, I need this reminder. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the doors. my makeshift skirt hoodie combination swishing softly with each step. The safety pins made tiny metallic sounds dash tick dash tick dash tick like a gentle percussion section accompanying my exit. I'm walking differently. Standing taller. Why? As I reached the door, I turned back one last time. The businessman gave me a formal nod. The teenager waved enthusiastically. The punk rock girl threw up a peace sign. And Dr. Santos smiled that warm, professional smile that had first cut through my panic. Thank you, I said, the words carrying all the weight of my gratitude. Thank you for reminding me that people can be good. That people are good. Take care of yourself. Honey. Dr. Santos called as the doors began to close, and then they were gone. Carried away into the tunnel toward the next stop. The next moment.
The next opportunity to be human beings helping human beings. They're gone.
But what they gave me isn't. I stood on the platform for a moment, watching the red taillights of the train disappear into the darkness. Around me, the evening rush hour continued its relentless pace. Thousands of people hurrying toward their destinations, each absorbed in their own private universe. But they're not really strangers, are they? They're all just people. People who might help. People who might need help. I began walking toward the exit, my heels clicking against the concrete platform. The safety pins continued their gentle tick-tick-tick, and with each step, I felt something shifting inside my chest.
Lighter, I feel lighter. It wasn't just the physical relief of having
my wardrobe malfunction resolved. It was something deeper, a fundamental recalibration of how I saw the world around me. For 3 minutes, 37 strangers became a community. For 3 minutes, the subway became a place of kindness instead of indifference. As I climbed the stairs toward street level, I passed a homeless man sitting near the turnstiles. Usually, I would have averted my eyes, quickened my pace, pretended not to see. But tonight is different. I stopped and reached into my purse, pulling out a $10 bill. Here, I said, placing it in his cup. Have a good evening. He looked up, surprised. God bless you, miss. Thank you. Pay it forward. Just like she said, I emerged onto the street, where the chaos of Brooklyn evening rush hour greeted me, honking cars, shouting vendors, the smell of food trucks and exhaust fumes.
But somehow it all seemed different now. The same city.
The same people.
But I'm seeing it through different eyes. The walk to my apartment was only 4 blocks, but I took my time,
savoring the gentle tick-tick-tick of the safety pins and the soft weight of the borrowed hoodie around my waist.
This hoodie. This reminder that strangers can become angels in the space of a heartbeat. With each step,
I found myself making eye contact with people I passed. Smiling at the bodega owner. Nodding to the woman walking her dog. Saying excuse me instead of just pushing past. Small things. But maybe small things matter more than I thought. By the time I reached my building, my chest felt fuller somehow, not with anxiety or stress, but with something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. I feel hope. The elevator in my building had been broken for 3 weeks, a fact that usually sent me into a spiral of complaints about rent prices and building management. But tonight, as I climbed the 4 flights to my apartment, the tick-tick-tick of the safety pins keeping time with my steps, I barely noticed. When did I stop seeing the stairs as an obstacle and start seeing them as just stairs? My apartment, door 3B, with its chipped green paint and the number hanging slightly askew, had always felt like a barrier between me and the world. Tonight, it felt like a gateway to reflection. Home. But I'm bringing something new inside with me. I dropped my keys on the small table by the entrance. The same table where I usually dumped my frustrations along with my purse and coat. But tonight, I moved more deliberately, more mindfully. Everything feels different. Even the familiar feels new. I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, the same mirror where I'd practice my closing arguments, where I'd rehearse difficult conversations with my boss, where I'd given myself pep talks before important dates. But the woman looking back at me wasn't quite the same person who had left this morning. The hoodie. I'm still wearing Dr. Santos's hoodie. The gray fabric was soft and well-worn, with tiny pills near the elbows that spoke of countless washes and years of comfort. On the front, barely visible, was a faded logo from a 5K charity run, Miles for Smiles. Children's Hospital 2019. She runs charity races. Of course she does. She probably volunteers at soup kitchens and reads to elderly people in nursing homes. I untied the hoodie carefully, treating it like the sacred artifact it had become. The safety pins caught the light from my kitchen window, 5 small pieces of metal that had held more than just
fabric together. They held my dignity together. My faith in humanity together. I laid the hoodie on my couch,
smoothing out the wrinkles with the same care I usually reserve for important legal documents.
The safety pins went into a small dish on my coffee table, not to be thrown away,
but to be kept.
Treasured. Evidence. Proof that today really happened. My phone buzzed with the familiar
cascade of evening notifications, work emails, news alerts, social media updates. The digital noise that usually demanded my immediate attention.
But tonight, I let it buzz. The world can wait 5 minutes. Instead,
I walked to my kitchen window, the one that faced the street 4 floors below.
From here, I could see the evening rush of Brooklyn people hurrying home from work.
Couples walking hand in hand, teenagers laughing too loudly. Elderly folks moving at their own pace. 30-7 strangers on a train.
But down there are thousands more.
All with their own stories. All capable of kindness. I watched a young mother struggling with a stroller and grocery bags, while her toddler had what appeared to be a spectacular meltdown on the sidewalk. 6 months ago, I would have watched with detached amusement, maybe even irritation at the noise.
But now I see her exhaustion,
her need for help.
Without thinking, I grabbed my keys and headed back downstairs.
"Excuse me," I called as I approached the frazzled mother. "Can I help you carry something?" She looked up, surprised and slightly suspicious, the default expression of any New Yorker approached by a stranger. What? You look like you could use an extra pair of hands," I said, gesturing to her overflowing grocery bags. "I live right here."
"It's no trouble. Why am I doing this?"
I don't know this woman. But somehow, that doesn't matter anymore. Her expression softened. That's really kind of you.
I just live 2 blocks over, but Tommy here decided this was the perfect time for a complete breakdown.
Tommy. The toddler in question was red-faced and wailing about something involving a lost toy truck. I knelt down to his level. "Hey, Tommy," I said softly. "That sounds like a really big feeling you're having. Where did that come from?"
I don't know anything about kids, but somehow acknowledging his emotion rather than dismissing it worked.
His wails decreased to sniffles, and he looked at me with curious, tear-filled eyes. "Truck?" he said, pointing vaguely down the street. "We lost his favorite truck somewhere between the grocery store and here," his mother explained, looking defeated. "It's been a long day. A long day."
I know about those.
"Tell you what, Tommy," I said, standing up and taking 2 of the heavy grocery bags from his mother. "How about we walk really slowly to your house, and we'll keep our eyes open for that truck. Sometimes toys like to hide in the most surprising places." I'm making this up as I go along. But it feels right. The walk to their building took 15 minutes instead of 5, because we stopped to look behind every trash can, under every parked car, around every tree. We didn't find the truck. But something else happened. Tommy stopped crying. His mother relaxed.
And I found myself genuinely enjoying the company of 2 strangers. Strangers. That word is starting to lose its meaning.
"I can't thank you enough," Tommy's mother said as we reached her building. "I'm Jessica, by the way."
"And you've just saved my sanity."
"Sarah," I replied, handing over the grocery bags. "And honestly, you saved mine too." "It's true. Helping them helped me." Jessica looked puzzled. "How did I save yours?"
I thought about how to explain it, the subway incident,
the kindness of strangers, the way my entire worldview had shifted in the space of 3 minutes. But instead, I just smiled. "Sometimes we need reminders that people are good," I said. Today I got that reminder and now I'm trying to pass it along. Pay it forward. The punk rock girl's words echoing in my actions. As I walked back to my building, I noticed things I'd never seen before. The way the bodega owner always held the door for elderly customers. How the teenagers who usually seemed so intimidating were actually helping an old man figure out his smartphone. The small acts of kindness that happened every day, invisible until you started looking for them. They were always there. I just wasn't seeing them. Back in my apartment, I finally checked my phone. 17 work emails, 3 missed calls from my mother, and 42 social media notifications. The digital demands of modern life, all waiting for my attention. But first. I opened a new note on my phone and began typing. Today I learned that miracles happen on the subway. Not the big, flashy kind, the quiet human kind. When my skirt tore and I thought my world was ending, 5 strangers became angels. Dr. Santos, the punk rock girl with safety pins. The businessman with kind eyes. The teenager with braces. And the elderly woman I was trying to help. They reminded me that underneath all our armor and anonymity, we're all just people who need each other. I want to remember this feeling. This lightness. This hope. Tomorrow, I'm going to look for opportunities to be someone else's subway angel. A record. A promise. A new way of being. I saved the note and finally turned to my emails. But as I worked through the familiar routine of responding to client requests and scheduling meetings, I found myself thinking differently about each interaction. These aren't just professional obligations. These are connections with other human beings. The 6:47 p.m. Express to Brooklyn had become my favorite part of the day. Funny how perspective changes everything. I stood in almost the exact same spot where my life had changed 3 weeks ago. But now I saw the subway car through completely different eyes. Instead of 37 strangers trapped in a metal tube, I saw 37 stories waiting to unfold. The businessman reading his newspaper. He has kind eyes behind those glasses. The teenager with headphones, she's probably studying for finals. The woman in scrubs, maybe she's having the same kind of day Dr. Santos was having. Dr. Santos's hoodie hung in my closet at home. Carefully washed and folded, waiting for the day I might see her again to return it. But I'd started carrying my own emergency kit, safety pins, tissues, band-aids, a small sewing kit, and an extra hair tie. Just in case someone else needed a subway angel. Be the help you wish to see in the world. The train lurched as we rounded a familiar curve, and I automatically adjusted my stance. But this time, I noticed the elderly man next to me struggling to maintain his balance. Without hesitation, I offered him my arm for support. "Thank you, dear," he said with a grateful smile. "These old legs aren't as steady as they used to be. These old bones aren't what they used to be." The same words the woman had said to me 3 weeks ago. "Would you like to sit down?" I asked, gesturing to an empty seat that had just opened up. "I'm not getting off for a while." Another lie worth telling. As he settled into the seat with obvious relief, I felt that familiar warmth spreading through my chest. The same feeling I'd been chasing for 3 weeks, the high of human connection. Of being useful, of mattering to someone else's day. It's addictive. This kindness thing. "Next stop, DeKalb Avenue," the conductor announced. That's when I saw her, a young woman, maybe 22. With the kind of professional outfit that screamed first job out of college, was standing near the doors, frantically digging through her purse. Her face was flushed with panic, and I could see her hands shaking. That look. I know that look. She pulled out her phone, checked it, then shoved it back into her purse with increasing desperation. Other passengers were starting to notice, some with annoyance, others with curiosity. She's lost something. Something important. I moved closer, weaving through the crowd with the practiced ease of a seasoned subway rider. "Excuse me," I said softly, approaching her the same way Dr. Santos had approached me. "Are you okay? You look like you might need some help." She looked up at me with wide, terrified eyes. "My Metro card," she whispered. "I can't find my Metro card and I don't have cash, and I need to get to this job interview and she's spiraling. Just like I did." "Hey," I said, placing a gentle hand on her arm. "Breathe. We're going to figure this out." I reached into my purse and pulled out my wallet. "Here," I said, handing her a $20 bill.
Get yourself a new Metro card and maybe grab some coffee before your interview.
You've got this. Pay it forward.
Always pay it forward. Her eyes filled with tears.
I can't take your money. I don't even know you. That's exactly why you can take it, I said, pressing the bill into her hand. Sometimes strangers are the best kind of angels. Dr. Santos's words, coming out of my mouth. But how can I pay you back? She asked, clutching the 20 like a lifeline. You don't pay me back, I said, smiling. You pay it forward.
Someday, when you see someone who needs help, you remember this moment and you help them.
The circle continues. She nodded vigorously, wiping away tears. I will. I promise I will. What's the interview for? I asked as the train began to slow for DeKalb Avenue.
Marketing assistant at a nonprofit, she said, her voice stronger now. It's my dream job, but I've been so nervous, and then losing my Metro card just felt like a sign that… What?
That the universe was testing your resilience? I interrupted gently. You're going to nail this interview. You know why? Where is this confidence coming from?
Why?
She asked. Because you care enough to be nervous.
Because you're resourceful enough to ask for help when you need it. And because sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes.
Like a torn skirt leading to a complete life transformation. The train stopped, and she gathered her purse with newfound determination. Thank you, she said. Thank you for being my subway angel. Subway angel. I liked that title. As she stepped off the train, she turned back and waved. I waved back, feeling that familiar lightness in my chest. Another connection. Another moment of matter. That was beautiful. I turned to find the source of the voice, a woman in her 30s with paint-stained fingers and an artist's observant eyes. What you just did, she continued. I watched the whole thing.
That girl was about to have a complete breakdown and you just
fixed it. If only she knew how recently I'd been the one needing fixing. Someone did the same thing for me once, I said.
I'm just returning the favor to the universe.
The artist smiled.
I'm Maya, by the way. And I think you might be exactly the kind of person I've been looking for. Intriguing? Looking for?
I asked. I'm working on a project, Maya explained, pulling out her phone to show me a series of photographs. It's called Subway Stories, documenting moments of human kindness in the transit system.
Would you be interested in sharing your story?
My story. The story that started with humiliation and transformed into hope.
I looked at her photos, candid shots of people helping each other, sharing food, offering seats, comforting strangers. Each image captured a moment of connection in a place usually defined by isolation. Art imitating life.
Or maybe life imitating art. I'd love to, I said. But it's not just my story. It belongs to all of them, the people who helped me when I needed it most. Dr. Santos, the punk rock girl. The businessman. The teenager. The elderly woman.
My subway angels.
Maya's eyes lit up. Even better. Would you help me find them? I'd love to photograph all of you together, to show how one moment of kindness can ripple outward. A reunion. A chance to thank them properly. I don't know their names, I admitted.
I don't know how to find them.
We'll figure it out, Maya said with the confidence of someone accustomed to making impossible things happen. New York is smaller than people think. Especially when you're looking for good people. Good people. They're everywhere, once you start looking. Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center, the conductor announced. This is Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. My stop. But this time I wasn't leaving alone. Here's my card, Maya said, handing me a business card with her contact information. Think about it. Your story could inspire thousands of people. Inspire thousands. From one torn skirt to thousands of inspired hearts. As I stepped off the train, I felt the familiar tick-tick-tick of the safety pins I now carried in my purse, not holding together torn fabric, but holding together a new version of myself. The woman who got on this train 3 weeks ago was afraid of strangers.
The woman getting off tonight sees potential angels everywhere. I climb the stairs towards street level. Maya's card in my hand and possibility blooming in my chest. Maybe it's time to find my subway angels. Maybe it's time to complete the circle. The community center's main hall buzzed with nervous energy as Maya adjusted her camera equipment for the third time. Folding chairs were arranged in a semicircle, and a small table held coffee, donuts, and the kind of nervous anticipation that comes with reuniting strangers who had shared an extraordinary moment. I can't believe we actually found them. It had taken 6 weeks of detective work that would have impressed Sherlock Holmes. Maya had posted on neighborhood Facebook groups, reached out to Mount Sinai Hospital's staff directory, and even put up flyers in subway stations. I had become a regular on the 6:47 p.m. train, hoping to spot familiar faces. The power of social media and stubborn determination. The breakthrough came when the teenager with braces, Emma. We learned it saw Maya's Instagram post and recognized the story. She had tagged her friends, who tagged their friends. And within 48 hours, we had contact information for 4 of the 5 subway angels. The internet can be beautiful when it wants to be. Dr. Maria Santos arrived first. Still in her scrubs from a double shift at Mount Sinai. She looked exactly as I remembered. Calm. Competent. Radiating the kind of quiet strength that made people feel safe. Sarah, she said, embracing me like an old friend. Look at you. You look wonderful. I feel wonderful. That's the difference. I brought your hoodie, I said, holding up a carefully wrapped package. Though I have to admit, I've gotten very attached to it. She laughed. Keep it. It looks better on you anyway. Besides, it's got good karma now. Good karma. If only she knew how much. Emma arrived next with her mother, who insisted on coming to meet the woman who helped my daughter help someone else. At 17, Emma had the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you can make a difference in the world. I've been carrying safety pins everywhere since that day, she announced, showing off a small tin decorated with band stickers. I've already helped 3 people with wardrobe emergencies. The ripple effect in action. Zoe, the punk rock girl with purple hair, burst through the doors like a force of nature, her arms full of flowers from the bodega next door. For our reunion, she declared, distributing small bouquets to everyone. I can't believe we're all here. This is like the most wholesome thing that's ever happened to me. Wholesome. Not a word I would have associated with subway travel 2 months ago. The businessman Stanisław, we learned from Poland, arrived precisely on time, carrying a small wrapped gift and wearing the same kind expression I remembered. For you, he said, handing me the package. A small thing, but I think you understand the meaning. Inside was a small silver pin in the shape of a subway car, with tiny rhinestones that caught the light like stars. It's beautiful, I whispered, genuinely moved. Is a reminder, he said in his careful English. Good things happen in unexpected places. Good things happen in unexpected places. The motto of my new life. The only person missing was the elderly woman who had started it all, the one I had offered my seat to. Despite our best efforts, we hadn't been able to find her. Maybe some angels are meant to remain mysterious. Maya had set up her camera equipment to capture both candid moments and formal portraits. But as we sat in our semicircle, sharing coffee and stories, the formal part of the evening faded into something more organic. I have to tell you all something, I said, looking around at these faces that had become so dear to me. That day on the subway, it changed my entire life. Understatement of the century. How so? Dr. Santos asked, leaning forward with genuine interest. Before that day, I saw the city as this cold, indifferent place full of strangers who didn't care about each other. I began. I was so focused on protecting myself from disappointment that I'd forgotten how to see the good in people. The old Sarah, she feels like a stranger now. But you helped me when I was at my most vulnerable. And you didn't know me, and you had no reason to care. You just did. Because it was the right thing to do. Emma nodded enthusiastically. That's what my mom always says, We help because we can, not because we have to. Wisdom from a 17-year-old. Since that day, I continued, I've been looking for ways to be someone else's subway angel. I've helped lost tourists, given my umbrella to strangers in the rain, bought coffee for people behind me in line. Small things, but they add up. Small things that feel enormous. Zoe grinned. Dude, you've created a kind monster. I love it, but it's not just me, I said. Emma's carrying safety pins. Dr. Santos, I bet you've helped countless people since then. Stanisław, you probably hold doors and offer directions every day. We're all spreading what happened that day. The multiplication of goodness. Maya, who had been quietly documenting our conversation, spoke up. This is exactly what I wanted to capture, how one moment of collective kindness can ripple outward and change not just one person, but an entire community. An entire community. Starting with 5 strangers on a train. Dr. Santos smiled. You know, in emergency medicine, we talk about the golden hour, that critical time when intervention can save a life. I think what happened on that subway was a different kind of golden hour. A golden hour for the soul. What do you mean? I asked. You were having a crisis, not medical, but emotional. And in that critical moment, instead of everyone looking away or pretending not to see, we came together. We intervened. And maybe we saved something important. They saved my faith in humanity. And in return, I found my purpose. Stanisław nodded thoughtfully. In my country, we have saying człowiek człowiekowi wilkiem. It means man is wolf to man. But that day, we were not wolves. We were, how you say, shepherds. Shepherds, protectors, angels. I want to do something, I said, the idea forming as I spoke. I want to start a movement. Subway angels, people committed to looking out for each other during their daily commutes. A movement. Born from a torn skirt and nurtured by strangers, Emma's eyes lit up. Like a secret society of good people. Not secret, Zoe corrected. Visible, obvious. We want people to know that help is available. Visible kindness. Revolutionary in its simplicity. Maya was already taking notes. I could document it. Create a social media campaign. Show people that small acts of kindness can transform entire communities. From 5 people to 500 to 5,000. Dr. Santos pulled out her phone. I'm in. And I know at least 20 nurses who would love to be part of this. Healthcare workers. They already know how to be angels. I can make pins, Stanisław offered. Small subway car pins, like the one I gave you. People can wear them to show they are. How you say? Safe people to ask for help. Visual identification. Brilliant. And I can organize the college students, Emma added. We're always on public transportation anyway. A multi-generational movement. As we talked. Planning and dreaming and building something beautiful from the foundation of that one subway moment. I felt a profound sense of completion. This is what was supposed to happen. This is why my skirt had to tear that day. Maya stood up to take our group photo. And as we arranged ourselves in front of her camera, I looked around at these faces, no longer strangers, but family chosen by circumstance and bonded by purpose. My subway angels. Now my partners in spreading light. Okay, everyone, Maya called out. On the count of 3, I want you to think about that moment on the subway. Think about how it felt to help someone who needed it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The camera clicked, capturing not just our faces, but the joy of people who had discovered their power to change the world. One small act of kindness at a time, one moment. 5 strangers. Infinite possibilities. The small silver subway car pin on my coat. Lapel the fluorescent light, as I stood in the exact spot where my life had changed 365 days ago. But this time, I wasn't alone in wearing the symbol. 12 people. 12 subway car pins in this car alone. The Subway Angels movement had grown beyond anything we could have imagined. What started with 5 strangers helping one embarrassed woman had become a city-wide network of 15,000 registered members. each committed to making public transportation a little more human. 15,000 angels. Maya's documentary had gone viral. But the real magic was happening in moments like this. I watched a woman with a Subway Angels pin help an overwhelmed father wrangle his twin toddlers while managing a stroller. Two teenagers with pins were quietly helping an elderly man figure out his smartphone. A businessman with a pin had given up his seat to a pregnant woman without being asked. Ordinary people, doing extraordinary things. The new normal. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Santos. Emergency surgery running late. Save me a donut at tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting. The monthly Subway Angels gathering had outgrown the community center and moved to a high school auditorium. The train began to slow as we approached Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. And I felt the familiar flutter of anticipation. Not anxiety this time, excitement. Because tonight wasn't just our regular monthly meeting. Tonight, we were surprising someone special. As I stepped off the train, I spotted Maya waiting on the platform with her ever-present camera and a knowing smile. Is she here? I asked. Car 3, about halfway down. Maya whispered. Emma's been riding the same train for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. The elderly woman. After a year of searching, we'd finally found her. Mrs. Eleanor Washington, 78 years old, retired teacher, grandmother of 5. Emma had spotted her on the 6:47 p.m. train last Tuesday and recognized her immediately. The same kind eyes. The same worn leather purse, the same gentle demeanor. The angel who started it all. Without even knowing it, we walked quickly to car 3, where Emma was stationed near the doors. Her phone ready to signal us when Mrs. Washington was about to get off at her stop, Nostrand Avenue. 2 stops away. Through the window, I could see her sitting in the same type of seat where our story had begun. Reading a paperback novel with the focused attention of someone who truly loved books. She has no idea that offering to let me help her led to all of this. Emma's phone lit up with our group text. She's getting ready to get off. Positions, everyone. Showtime. As the train pulled into Nostrand Avenue, we watched Mrs. Washington gather her things and move toward the doors. That's when our plan went into action. Dr. Santos appeared at her left side, Zoe at her right. Stanisław positioned himself near the doors. Emma and I flanked the group, and Maya documented everything from a respectful distance. The original Subway Angels. Reuniting with the woman who made it all possible. Excuse me. Ma'am, Dr. Santos said gently as Mrs. Washington stepped onto the platform. Mrs. Washington? My name is Dr. Maria Santos. And I believe you might remember my friend Sarah. Mrs. Washington looked confused but not alarmed, the natural wariness of a city dweller, tempered by the kindness in Dr. Santos's voice. Please remember. Please remember that day. I'm sorry, Mrs. Washington said politely. I don't think we've met. About a year ago, I said, stepping forward. You were on the 6:47 p.m. train to Brooklyn. I offered you my seat, and when I stood up, my skirt tore. Do you remember? The moment of truth, recognition dawned slowly across her weathered features, like sunrise breaking over the horizon. Oh my goodness, she whispered, her hand flying to her chest. The young lady with the torn skirt. And all these people helped you. She looked around at our group with growing amazement. But how did you find me? Why did you find me? Because you changed everything. Because you were the first domino in a chain reaction of goodness. Mrs. Washington, I said, my voice thick with emotion. What happened that day, when you accepted my offer to sit down? When these wonderful people helped me, it started something incredible. Zoe stepped forward with her characteristic enthusiasm. You basically started a revolution of kindness. A revolution. That's exactly what it was. Emma pulled out her phone and showed Mrs. Washington the Subway Angels app, a simple platform where people could report acts of kindness, request help, or volunteer to assist others. 15,000 members, Emma said proudly. All because you let Sarah help you that day. 15,000 people inspired by one moment of gracious acceptance. Stanisław presented Mrs. Washington. with a special pin, not the regular silver subway car, but a golden one, engraved with the words Original Angel. "For you," he said with his gentle formality. "You are where it all began." The first angel. The one who taught me that helping others starts with letting others help you. Mrs. Washington's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the pin, then at each of our faces. "I don't understand." All I did was accept a kind gesture from a young woman who was being thoughtful. "Exactly. That's exactly what you did. That's the point," Dr. Santos said softly. "Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply receive kindness gracefully." You showed Sarah that her offer to help mattered. That she mattered. And in showing me that I mattered, she showed me that everyone matters. Maya stepped forward with a thick photo album. "Mrs. Washington, I'm a photographer, and I've been documenting the Subway Angels movement for the past year. I'd like to show you what your simple act of acceptance has created. A year's worth of documented kindness. Hundreds of photos of people helping strangers. We found a bench on the platform, and Mrs. Washington sat down with the album in her lap. As she turned the pages, her expression shifted from confusion to wonder to something approaching awe. Photos of people sharing umbrellas, helping with heavy bags, giving directions, offering seats, providing tissues, sharing food. All of this, she whispered. From one torn skirt? From one moment of human connection, I corrected. From your willingness to let a stranger be kind to you, and from these amazing people's willingness to help when help was needed. The alchemy of kindness. How small gestures become transformative movements. Mrs. Washington closed the album and looked up at us, with tears streaming down her cheeks. "You know, I was having such a difficult day that day. I'd just come from the doctor, nothing serious, just routine tests, but I was feeling so alone in this big city." Alone in the big city. The universal urban experience. "When you offered me your seat," she continued, "it was the first kindness anyone had shown me in weeks. It reminded me that people still cared about each other. And your acceptance of that kindness reminded me that caring was worth the risk." "Mrs. Washington," I said, sitting down beside her on the bench, "would you consider being our honorary president? The Subway Angels movement needs a leader who understands that receiving kindness is just as important as giving it. The perfect leader. Someone who knows that grace is a two-way street." She looked around at our faces. These strangers who had become family. These angels who had become a movement. "I would be honored," she said, pinning the golden subway card to her coat with shaking hands. "But only if you promise me something." "Anything." We promise her anything. "What's that?" Dr. Santos asked. "Promise me that you'll remember, it's not about the big gestures or the recognition or the social media posts," Mrs. Washington said, her teacher's voice carrying the authority of decades spent shaping young minds. "It's about seeing each other. Really seeing each other. And remembering that we're all just people trying to get home. People trying to get home." The most beautiful definition of humanity I've ever heard. As we stood up to leave the platform, Mrs. Washington took my arm not for support, but for connection. "Sarah," she said quietly, "that day when your skirt tore, I saw something in your face that I recognized. The look of someone who felt invisible in a crowd. I want you to know that you are never invisible. You just needed the right light to help you shine. The right light. Sometimes it takes a torn skirt and 5 strangers to help you find your own radiance." We walked together toward the subway exit, our group of original angels plus one. While Maya captured the moment that would become the cover photo for her book about the movement. From humiliation to hope to healing to helping others heal. As we emerged onto the street, the evening rush hour swirled around us, thousands of people hurrying toward their destinations, each carrying their own stories, their own struggles, their own capacity for kindness. But now I see them differently. Now I see the angels hiding in plain sight. Mrs. Washington squeezed my arm one more time before heading toward her bus stop. "Thank you, dear," she said, for reminding an old teacher that the best lessons often come from the most unexpected moments. "Thank you for teaching me that accepting help is the first step toward giving it." I watched her walk away,
the golden pin on her coat catching the streetlights like a beacon. Around me, my subway angels were making plans for tonight's meeting, discussing new initiatives, sharing stories of recent kindnesses witnessed and performed. This is what transformation looks like. Not a single moment of change, but a lifetime of moments building on each other. As I headed home, I passed the same bodega where I'd bought coffee for a stranger last week. The same corner where I'd helped a lost tourist find their way. The same building where I'd carried groceries for an elderly neighbor. Small acts. Daily choices. The accumulation of goodness. My phone buzzed with a notification from the Subway Angels app. New kindness reported. Someone with a Subway car pin helped me when I dropped my groceries. Reminded me that good people exist. Thank you, angels. Good people exist. They always did. We just needed to remember how to see them. I smiled and typed a response. Good people exist because we choose to be good people. One small act at a time. One subway ride at a time. One moment of seeing each other at a time. One torn skirt at a time. As I climbed the stairs to my apartment, I could hear the distant rumble of the subway below, thousands of people in motion. Each carrying the potential to be someone else's angel. Each capable of transforming an ordinary commute into an extraordinary moment of human connection. The subway angels are everywhere now. We just needed to learn how to spread our wings. 2 years later, the Subway Angels movement had spread to 12 cities across 3 countries. Mrs. Eleanor Washington, now 80, continued to serve as honorary president, riding the subway twice a week and carrying a small bag of Subway car pins to give to anyone who performed an act of kindness. Dr. Maria Santos opened a free clinic in Brooklyn, staffed entirely by volunteers wearing Subway car pins. Zoe started a nonprofit providing emergency supplies to homeless individuals. Emma graduated valedictorian and chose to study social work. Stanisław became an American citizen and opened a small business making Subway car pins, donating all profits to charity. And Sarah? Sarah left her corporate law job to become a public defender, representing people who needed someone to see their humanity when the world had stopped looking. The original torn skirt hangs framed in the Subway Angels headquarters, next to a photo of 5 strangers who became family, and a simple plaque that reads, "Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes strangers become angels. Sometimes a single act of kindness changes everything." The subway still runs every day. The angels still ride along.